What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here, joined by Josh Davis. Welcome to the Wednesday Link Live. We are 2 weeks away, basically a little less than 2 weeks away, from the Eagles reporting to training camp. We also have 2 Brandon Graham signed jerseys to give away tonight, and we're going to hang out for the next hour, answer your questions, and talk about the birds. Josh, happy Wednesday. How are you?
Happy Wednesday. I'm doing well. Doing really good. It's happy late 4th. I hope everything was good there for everybody tuning in, listening, and everything else. But it's fun because we haven't actually done the live since the crazy, awesome, ridiculous weekend
That's a
in
good
Philly.
point.
We've talked about it, but actually first time hopping on here. So I'm excited. I'm hyped. We got some other things planned as well, not only to mention like the jerseys that you talked about, but how about that weekend in Philly? That was phenomenal.
It was a fun weekend in Philly. I'm sure we'll talk about the fun weekend in Philly. I don't know if we do it now, we do it later. It was a surprise. We got the invite from the people setting it up a while ago. And then, of course, Josh has a newborn baby. Flying out to Philadelphia is pretty tough. Flights are expensive. And kind of last minute, Josh and I were like, you know what? Let's go. Because you never really know what those events are going to be like. And as we'll talk about in a little bit, it was a lot more fun than we could have ever imagined, and we got a lot more access than I think a lot of people could have imagined we'd actually have. So really big props to Chima for hooking us up and the guys at Clear Vision. But fun to get invited to an Eagles event, which is kind of our first one to go to as Eagle content creators.
Yes, it was awesome. It was an absolute blast. So, like you said, we'll get into that. But yeah, I was also blown away, unbelievably blessed. We'll just say that. Very blessed to have gotten the invite, even showing up. But it worked out perfectly for a little bit. We were like, I don't know, last second, can we even make this work? Should we make it work? But it was unbelievable. So, heck yeah.
There you go. 2 weeks till training camp, Josh. And obviously, we have titled this show talking about how the Eagles are going to be juggernauts here in 2024. I don't know about you. Maybe it's just the fact that we're getting closer to training camp and the hype building around Philadelphia is growing at just an incredible rate right now. But I truly believe the Eagles roster is one of the premier, if not the premier in the National Football League. I think the coaching issues have been ironed out. And really, when I sit back and watch training camp, I'm watching individual position battles, but there aren't a ton because this roster is so set and looks so darn good in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree because again, like you say, there's so much depth, and we've been talking about it for a number of times. But it's like you get an acquisition here or there, you see a different player. Granted, it's within the OTA format, so we don't know 100%. But it's like, all right, hey, look, some guys are shining, some guys are playing better. Isaiah Rodgers, absolutely no rust. Looks like he should very much rival for a starting spot, if not win out on a starting spot. Keith Ringo is better than advertised, or I guess better than expected coming off of a rookie season. So that's just to mention the corners. You talk about other areas of the offense, obviously within Kellen Moore's changes and fits to the scheme and everything there. So I'm super hyped for it. I know everyone else is. I've seen several comments here. We see it on just about every one of our videos and everything else too. It's like everyone can't wait for the season to get here. I mean, at least to your point of in a couple weeks, training camp is going to be here. So you can kind of quench the thirst somewhat, but it still won't happen until we get to the regular season because, it's like, well, there's preseason, there's little nuances and everything else, but Kellen Moore's not going to show all of his cards. No coordinator, nobody's really going to do that, but still we'll start to get a little bit more semblances of, who's going to make the roster, players on that side. I know you've got an exciting interview as well, so we can get into that possibly. Maybe not. Maybe we just save it and wait for the tease whenever it comes out. But, it's just cool to get behind the scenes. But to everyone's point so far, it's like we just need to get to training camp. I mean, we just have to.
We're close. We're very close. Whitebird Acres with the 10. Appreciate that. Been a while since I caught you guys live. It's been amazing to watch our channels grow. Keep up the amazing content. Support from Northeast PA. We appreciate that. Josh is probably 400 away from 65. I'm like 5 away from 55. I mean, we are over 100,000 strong. We're approaching 120,000 strong here on between both of our channels, and we could not appreciate you guys enough for all the fun you let us do, and of course for watching all of our shows. And training camp is going to be really good. I actually went back today, Josh. I was watching some of my training camp coverage videos from last year. And the quality from both of us is just going to be so much higher, and we're really pumped just to cover everything. Maybe go to training camp. That's something to be discussed. Well, details. But and then, of course, get ready for preseason games. We'll have a full broadcast of that as well. Trying to be the best 2 channels possible to give you guys full coverage of everything happening with the Philadelphia Eagles. So, Whitebird Acres, we appreciate that. For people wanting the Brandon Graham giveaway that is happening tonight, remember, We both interviewed Brandon Graham on our channels, last week now? I think it has over 60,000 views between both channels total. And, of course, if you commented, I think it was BG, right, and you were a subscriber on both of our channels, then you got an entry. So we're going to do 2 individual drawings, one from my comment section, one from Josh's comment section in a little bit. Not just yet. Come on, we can't give everything away just now. And then, of course, the winners will be given and sent out 2 Brandon Graham jerseys that BG has at the NovaCare Complex right now. He's been out of town on vacation, so he's going to send those back to us soon. So we don't know when you're going to get them, but rest assured it's happening. So it's going to be very fun. We give those away. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, should we do one just now? I mean, start out the positive vibes. So we got to give away 2. We do one now.
Do you want to do one now?
Until later? We might as well.
Let's
right?
just do one now. Okay,
kick it off with a bang.
One of the two. One of the two.
Okay. All right.
Wait a second.
We'll do that.
As you pull it up, let's answer this. How long does someone have to, or how long are we going to wait to get emails from people before we respin? Is it when's the deadline? Because every single giveaway I've done, I've gotten responses, but I think you've had a couple where there are no shows, and hey, you don't watch every one of our shows. Tough luck. Nothing you can do about it. But do we say by Monday of next week or next week's live show?
I would say, I'd say a week. I normally give it a week. To your point, I've had 2 people, I think, since like January of doing giveaways that just didn't claim it for whatever reason. But oddly enough, one of those were for tickets to a game. I'm like, it's like, some of the others, like, okay, maybe it's understandable, but they didn't. So I think Robert was the guy's name. Apologies to Robert. But someone else ended up winning those. So, but yeah, if we give a week, I figure we're good.
Okay. So, all right. So if we don't hear from you by next Wednesday, and you got to go ahead and email myself or Josh, and that is the easiest way to go ahead and win this thing. Let's go ahead and get the wheel. Josh is setting up the wheel to make sure that we are good to go. Again, these are randomly selected in terms of how this is going to go, and then I'm going to make sure I have my description box ready for the winner, and all you got to do is email us as well. Okay, so when Josh gets that ready pulled up, again, one person now, and probably 20-30 minutes, we'll announce the other winner there, and then you guys will get some signed BG swag, which is pretty cool. Kelly Green, number 55, 2 large jerseys. I don't know, we just decided on large jerseys. Figured you're probably going to hang them up anyway, so good size. Fit in one of those jersey box frames on your wall. It'll look fantastic. So Josh will get that pulled up, and we'll be good to go.
There you go. And as I'm doing that, I see we got a special guest tuning in for the chat. Anthony DeBona, what's up? Says the dynamic duo is live.
Anthony DeBona. Anthony DeBona was front page of PFN's website, wasn't he? I think he was.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Very well deserved.
Not a surprise.
Very,
not a
well
surprise.
For that.
He's got some good content over there on his Twitter. All right, so here is... trying to do it with you. Okay, so that's you, and I guess I can't be on the screen because this is how it works for whatever reason. So this is from is this from your comment section or my comment section?
This one is I did yours.
Okay, so this is from my comment section.
Your comment section. Should be? I mean, hopefully they're all the same, but yes, it's for your comment section.
Have to be a subscriber. It has to say the words BG in the comments. So out of I think almost 2,000 people, let's see who wins the first jersey. Spin it.
Here we go. Good luck. Who is it going to be? Please, hopefully it's like family appropriate.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Name that we've had before.
Shasty TD5.
TD5PQ.
There you go.
Whoever that is. Congratulations, Shasty. Yeah, like Thomas said, hit us up. Let us know. Comment to us. DM, email, whatever it is. We'll have the details in the description as well. Yep. But it doesn't matter. You can do either one.
Just send us a screenshot of you signed into your YouTube account because that's how we verify that it's you. So it's like, hey, look, I'm signed into Shasty TD5PQ, I guess is what that is. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah. That is the winner. And if you haven't been subscribed to both of us, we're going to check before we send it to you, so make sure you're subbed to both of us. But I assume that both of the winners are. So there's one. Shasty is the first winner, and then we'll go ahead and draw the next one. I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes. We'll see. I don't know if Shasty's live right now. It'd be fun to get somebody who's actually watching the chat.
That would be really nice, yes.
It's a random drawing. So I had someone comment being like, I don't think these are very random. And I'm like, have you watched us push the little button? Because it's a website that randomly picks. We do not pick favorites on who wins these things. We don't know who you guys are based on your name or whatever. So it's very random. Very random.
Right. It's totally random. No, we cannot. And in full transparency, we have in all randomness. I think your dad won one of the giveaways, and then
that's right.
Coming back to it. So for those that might say we don't, we're keeping it above board as best we can. It is a completely randomized picker. But yes, there you go, Shasty. Congratulations, you have a week.
There you go. There you go. All right, I put my my email to what we need in my description box. It's there now, and we can get back to the show, and we'll draw again in a little bit, as we appreciate you guys watching right now. You did mention earlier I had another Eagle player interview today, and I won't mention who it is, but I did mention on Twitter it was an Eagle defensive back, and we just talked about how all these camp battles and people looking good and people looking bad. There was one part in the interview with one of the Eagle player today, which I'm going to drop tomorrow on my channel, by the way. It's just editing right now. And I asked him, give me a cornerback who's standing out right now. And he laughed, and then he gave me a super long answer, basically saying Isaiah Rodgers and Kelee Ringo have been so impressive this offseason, it's shocked everybody. He said one day it's Kelee Ringo, one day it's Isaiah Rodgers, and then they switch back and forth. He says, I could not believe how genuine this Eagle player was, talking about the impressiveness of Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers, while also being like, these two are so legit. Just wait till you get to training camp. Wait till you see how these guys are going to perform. So that made me pretty excited in terms of talking to one of the players today.
Let's go. I'm not going to give anything away, but I know who it is, but I can't say that. But just to hear that from what you're saying and what that individual said,
exciting.
It is. It's extremely exciting because obviously I had to go out. I told you I was going to before with Isaiah Rodgers coming on and all that. I got the jersey, got the Kelly Green jersey that showed up. Gave away the autographed one as well, and then the white. I don't have the helmet with me right now, but there's maybe a little bit of extra support on my side. Understandably so. But yeah, like again, going back to the point of the cornerbacks and the competition and everything there, it's like. It's one thing from media members, and again, you get little snippets. They're only at certain practices. It's a different thing when another player comes right out and just like, hey, look, these guys are shocking. I mean, they are surprising everyone. They're living up to expectations. They're exceeding expectations. And I mean, I'd be happy with honestly any position group, but probably more so with it being corner after what happened last season. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that full interview, and everyone else should be as well. So stay tuned for that one.
This week there's not a ton of news going on, and so I was trying to kind of figure out what I want to do my shows on. Maybe some more, I call them documentary type shows. They're not documentaries. They're actually a normal length of a show, but it's not necessarily like breaking news. The Eagles are doing this, or this player looks good. It's more like looking back at what happened, what I think is going to happen. Maybe more of like an opinion column in YouTube video form. And I was looking into the whole Saquon Barkley and, how good I think he's going to be, and I'm really convinced he's going to be fantastic. Why I think Christian McCaffrey is the ultimate mold. We've talked about that a lot here on both of our channels. But I also was just looking at the whole idea that Howie Roseman has gone into full overcorrection mode the past couple of seasons. Like, he has done everything possible when the Eagles have a fault, whether it's this position or that position or this depth piece or that depth piece. He continues to overcorrect and go out there and make even more moves than necessarily he needs to make sure that position group is shored up. And a couple of years ago, you miss on Rager, you miss on J.J. Whiteside, Nelson Aguilar, never really that great, although he did help you win a Super Bowl. And the overcorrection is a top 10 draft pick on Devontae Smith, which normally, historically, the Eagles would spend one first rounder on a wide receiver, and then it's like, all right, we got him, move on. They go Devontae Smith, and then they go A.J. Brown the next draft, which is just crazy. A massive overcorrection from one of the worst receiving cores to one of the best. Cornerback has been no different this offseason. I mean, last year, they have two decent ones on the roster. They have a third in Maddox. He gets hurt, and that's it. I mean, they're throwing everybody out there in terms of backups and undrafted free agents and players here and there trying to just play cornerback and survive. And now the overcorrection has given Philadelphia, I mean, I think right now they have, depending on if Bradberry's a safety or a cornerback, which I actually have my interview, I talked about that as well. So again, sort of a little plug, tomorrow's interview. 7 actual legit quality starting cornerbacks on this roster in terms of guys who can play on the outside. I mean, I'm pretty sure, excuse me, Bradberry, Slay, Ringo, Rodgers, Mitchell, DeJean is another one. And then you can kind of make the argument, Eli Ricks, he's gotten a lot of run on the outside, at least in the past. He filled in admirably. They have a ton in an overcorrection type of format that Howie Roseman has done. Even backup quarterback, the Nick Foles thing. They've tried constantly to overcorrect and make sure quarterbacks, good ones can come in. Mariota was an absolute bust last year. You overcorrect and get a first rounder in Kenny Pickett. It's been the new philosophy of the Philadelphia Eagles recently, and it's worked pretty darn good. And at least in my opinion, I'm a big fan of it.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm right there with you because again, it's you see, it's almost like I mean, I know you say overcorrection. That's probably the right way to describe it. But how he talked about, not necessarily, I don't think he likes to phrase it understandably. He's like, oh, overcorrecting this. But he's like, you want to go out there and make the moves that he's even said, like, you borderline on make the move that's either going to win you a Super Bowl or get you fired. Now, granted, it hasn't necessarily been these win a Super Bowl, get you fired, because there's only been one of those. But, you can understand his line of thinking there. And yeah, he admits whenever there's mistakes, Nothing as glaring as, I mean, Hard Knocks this week, all the leaked footage of Saquon Barkley and all that, which we can talk about as well. Nothing to the extreme of that. I mean, let's just be honest and thankful that we don't have a GM that misses the boat that badly. So, but yes, the fact that he's willing to come out there and say, look, you know what? These were some of the positions. Maybe we did need to refortify. Maybe we actually need to go out there and get some players. So to actually see that now, granted, yes, we need to continue that progression into the regular season. But so far it's promising. So I'm excited about it. Nate brought up a good question. Shout out to Nate, the t-shirt, Nate, with the QB1 that we were wearing last week, but said with Rodgers and Ringo stepping up. Okay, well, there you go.
I need to.
Just a reminder now. Said, did we need both Mitchell and DeJean as much as I love those guys with Rodgers and Ringo stepping up?
Again, I don't want to keep plugging the fact I interviewed an Eagle today, but it is still kind of, fun for us because it's a new thing. The DB I talked to, I asked him about Cooper DeJean, and he said they're trying him out everywhere. And he said the big thing about Cooper DeJean, and he also mentioned Quinyon Mitchell, is they're so unbelievably smart that this is something that you don't get in first-year DBs. Rookie defensive backs coming to the league, and it's like, okay, just don't mess up. Tell me where I need to be. I'm going to learn as fast as possible, but there's going to be a lot of hiccups. And he said it's completely different. He said Cooper DeJean can play anywhere on Fangio's defense. And if you go back and kind of look at what Fangio likes from either safeties or cornerbacks, he's all about coverage. Like this whole idea of tackling or being really physical or having a lot of, straight line speed. All good things that matters in terms of having a DB or a cornerback. But Fangio wants to make sure you can cover. And I think Philadelphia went out there and said, again, last year, we didn't have enough guys who could cover. If Darius Slay went down, if JamesBradberry went down, or even just played in general, the Eagles had major issues. And now if they have an injury, they're 2, 3, 4 deep at that position. And I think they're going to have 2 really good superstars in Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. And even if Rodgers and Ringo turn out to be great, Slay's not here for much longer. Bradberry's definitely not here for much longer. You're going to have a lot of people moving up in the depth chart. And so, while yes, you can make the argument that they didn't need 2 DBs, I think the fact that Cooper DeJean was there at 46, traded up with the Washington Commanders, means that they think he's going to be a superstar. And in the draft, you definitely need a draft for need, but you can't pass on drafting a superstar to go get, this little left guard hole that you have or this little, slot receiver hole that you have. If you have a chance to get a, Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, and DeJean turns out to be that, then trading up for him and adding to an already deep cornerback room is definitely the best move.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's the fact that you have a player. Again, everybody can argue, and I know within the chat they will do it. Certainly when the draft pick happened, they did it. First play is an action that he gets. It'll be endless. But the fact that you see the versatility that DeJean has, and especially you talk about a Fangio defense, I think it goes hand in hand. But I'm right there with you. I mean, I understand Nate's question of, is there too many? Should we have gone with a different point? But at the same time, you brought up the fact there, and it's a great point. Like, who knows how long? Hopefully Slay can keep up to that level for this season and maybe even next year. Who knows how long it is? But if you look at it long-term wise, Slay is eventually going to fall off. And if that happens to be during this season, or if it happens to be next season, whenever that is, you've still got Keely Ringo, you've got Isaiah Rodgers, you've got DeJean, you've got Quinyon Mitchell. So there's some extra depth, and you don't exactly know who all is going to pan out. Plus, it'd be great. It'd be a phenomenal story if Isaiah Rodgers gets his extension, maybe even middle of the year if he's playing phenomenal, but you don't know for sure. He's only got that one season. So as of right now, things are great. If you get to the point where you're like, well, we have too many corners, it's not a bad problem because worst case scenario, if you say you don't want to keep them in the roster, just trade him for more capital, right? You get another draft pick, maybe you get another guy on the team. So we'll see. We got, it looks like a Chiefs troll here, but overall, appreciate we got Cole here.
No way. I didn't see him. There he is.
Yeah,
Chiefs
on top.
How about those Chiefs? There he is.
Up?
There he is. Yeah.
Talk about a drama-filled offseason, right? Like, my gosh.
That's a good point.
Offseason.
See, I would try and plug Cole's channel because he's probably the best sports team individual YouTube channel on the planet right now. I mean, the guy's like 250,000 subs. He's unbelievable. But no one in this chat cares about the Chiefs, so no one's going to go sub to you, Cole. So sorry about that. But he is the best, but no one here is going to go sub.
The NFL content creators.
He is. He really is.
I think
he's definitely up there. We watch a lot of content creators. He's probably number 1 or number 2. Although I'll be honest, Perna Pern is a little different. That's good sports because he's not like a specific team. Like he's a Broncos guy and he has a lot of fun. His feels a lot more like a comedy sketch than like an actual report on what's going on. That's why people love him. But in terms of like actual, this is my football team and my football channel, there's no one better than Cole. Cole is number one, easily. And it's not close.
Yeah, I'm with you. Totally agree. I can appreciate Perna's sarcasm, though.
There you go. I can
get a good laugh out of it.
And every time the Broncos lose, you go watch a show, and it's just like it's very fun. It's very fun. It's a good time. I mean, there's a reason he gets 600,000 views on the Broncos' fourth straight loss or something like that. So.
Yeah.
Who are you most excited to watch besides the Eagles this year, NFL and/or college? That's interesting. Honestly, just the Eagles. Like, we're both Baylor Bears. The Baylor Bears are not going to be that good this year. They haven't really been since I was a freshman in college. So, I don't know. Is there another NFL team?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say NFL-wise, I mean, this is more of like enjoying people's misery. So talking about like if the Broncos lose, but like I'm kind of excited about the possibility, the potential if Dallas starts to slip up. I want to see the complete implosion there, but that's not as much of like a cheering on. Maybe it's in the same light, quite honestly, of if we're going like college as well. I would throw out aren't Texas and Oklahoma? Is it the first year in SEC?
Yeah, 12-team college football playoff
year, right? Yeah. So I think that curious to see how they transition to the SEC as well. So there you go. You throw those out there, but
makes sense. Speaking of the Cowboys, did you see Dak Prescott walking around in that walking boot like 3 days ago? And then he said to reporters that he's not wearing a walking boot or nothing's wrong, so he's just like wearing it for fun, I guess. The Dallas offseason it's so bizarre. And Josh and I, we're content creators, obviously. We're fans first and foremost. That's why we have all the gear and all the stuff around us. But we're really, Eagle fans first, content creators second. The Eagles have given us not only great things from a fan perspective, but plenty of moves to talk about on our YouTube channels. That's great. Imagine being a Cowboy fan right now and a Cowboy content creator. 0 moves. I mean, literally 0 moves. There is nothing to talk about in Dallas Cowboy land other than CeeDee Lamb saying he didn't want to be there, right? That's basically it. And then you go on top of the fact that they haven't made any sort of legit signings to make your team better, not just from a content standpoint, but from just a fan standpoint. I really think if they're struggling mightily, obviously it's the end of Dak this year, and I see Jerry being, the 80-whatever-year-old senile old man. I know he's, whatever. He's just an old guy, right? I see him going all in for Shedeur Sanders. I think that is the Dallas Cowboy plan if Dak Prescott doesn't work out, because Shedeur in Dallas, maybe you pair him with Primetime as his head coach, and you're selling 1 billion tickets at $400 billion per ticket, and it's just like everything that Jerry cares about, and that is winning football games and not actually, that is making money and not actually winning football games. So that's my big bet if they're not like a juggernaut, and they're probably not going to be.
Exactly, yes. And although Aaron points it out perfectly, as you're kind of alluded to as well, but 0 moves for the Cowboys, but they went, in quotes, all in, whatever all in meant. But again, it's like, how many times do we hear Mr. Jerry Geriatric himself say something and it actually doesn't turn true? So you always listen like with a grain of salt of, okay, cool, he's saying that, but realistically, is that what it's going to be? I did think the same thing, like, the whole walking boot that he's not doing. It's so like, weird. All right, yeah, do people just go around walking for fun in a walking boot? Like my own personal experience, that it's not that enjoyable. Maybe, I don't know, it's been a long, long time. So I don't know, maybe it's a part of his strength training of sorts. It's just weird, like even what did Dak say like a couple months ago? He's like, oh, I don't play for the money. Like that's true, except for the fact that like you kind of do, because and I get it. Hey, you know what? Get all that you can. Like I'm not blaming him. I think it's great, in fact, if he wants to get 60, and I would love it if the Cowboys wanted to pay him 60.
Sure.
But it's like you say one thing different on the other side. I don't know. It goes back and forth. It's a business. You want to make as much money as possible. I think it goes into also the same part of, what we see behind the scenes of the Giants and Saquon and the negotiations there. I was just laughing, quite honestly. It's like the Giants have made so many bad mistakes, and you let your best player go. Joe Shane is in the room. For people that have not, please go look it up. You're missing out. But if you've not seen it, he's in the room with his other scouts and other player personnel, and they're basically talking of like, should they keep Saquon? How much is a team going to pay him? I think they're trying to talk themselves into calling his bluff, basically. Like they're assuming that no team's going to go out there and do it. The fact that Philly is the team is the icing on the cake. But I mean, come on, like I know AJ reacted to that as well, so it's cool to see that part.
Yeah.
But like, we've texted and everything there, but like, discussing it on this format here, like what, just share with the people, I guess, your thoughts on that. And then I just, because we can take it a step further, right? Because then the second leak that came out, or the second preview or whatever that came out after that, but it's laughable. It's laughable. Saquon Barkley in that sense.
It's not a good look. And by the way, for those watching, we just finished talking about Dak Prescott in his walking boot. This was the picture. Here's it is on the Cowboy Reddit forum. People are freaking out. So there is the picture of him. I saw a comment saying that, David said if his ankle is weak, maybe rocking around on a boat in the middle of the ocean all day trashes it, and he's avoiding that with the boat. Maybe, but then why go on a boat at all if it's that bad? And if it can't survive the boat, can it survive an NFL season?
Pretty bad. It's
really
it's
strange.
Boat rocket. I mean,
really
I understand about, but yes, that is
very strange. Back to the Barkley thing. I actually just finished the first 2 episodes of the Giants Hard Knocks HBO thing. Fantastic, by the way. It's very fun. I get the exact same feeling that you are. That it feels like Shane, Joe Shane, the Giants GM, he has already convinced himself before the offseason that they weren't going to pay Saquon Barkley. But when he has that meeting in the room with his assistant GM and director of player personnel and everybody, it's like they're all saying they want Saquon Barkley back, and then Shane's just like, no, we need to protect Daniel Jones. We got to protect Daniel Jones. It's wild to get an inside look at how it all works, because a GM basically has a bunch of yes men around him who all are putting their own little, opinions in here and there. But in the end, it's Joe Shane, the Giants GM, decision to re-sign Saquon Barkley or not, and he's like, hey, I don't want to do it. But the idea that he's trying to throw out there that, well, we tried to offer Saquon, money, and we hoped that he'd come back to us after he got his counter offers. It's so ridiculous now that you watch the Hard Knocks, because they basically told you the first two episodes that they didn't want to re-sign him anyway, right? It's just not a good look. And in reality, all it is trying to save face with all the diehard fans who spent all that money on Saquon Barkley jerseys and love him, to be like, hey, we tried, but in the end, he wanted to go somewhere else. No, you didn't really try that hard. And Saquon said, you know what? I want to take a lot more money, go back to, Penn State, basically, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and play for the division rivals. And I can't wait to see him, those 2 weeks playing against the Giants, because if he's healthy, it's going to be a lot of Saquon those 2 weeks. It's going to be very fun.
It is. And, we've talked about before, we have our new giant killer. We'll love Boston Scott to death, but, the new giant killer is the guy from the Giants. He's the number 95 in the best Giants of all time. He ranked there in the top 100, number 95.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of comical, the idea of you passed on him, but then the Giants social media account released their top 100 rankings, and there's Saquon Barkley at number 95. So it's just a weird look from all sides. But yeah, I'm going to very much be hoping, there's kind of you temper expectations. You're kind of like, hey, let's make sure that he's healthy, because yes, the playoffs are the most important, but man, there is so much extra motivation that I want to see Saquon just go off in the Giants game and run for, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, just absolutely dominate. So we'll see where that turns out. But yes, I'm of the same mindset. I'm like, I get that you got to make business decisions. There's other areas there, but you literally decided between Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, and something told you that Daniel Jones was the better bet than to go with a Saquon Barkley. It's unreal. It's unbelievable.
I like Aaron Charnel's comment here. He says, the question that was posed from the Giants staff, what will our identity be without Saquon Barkley, was a great question. And it was like, and Shane's doing the entire time, he's like, well, $40 million to Daniel Jones. We got to build around him. The craziest part is this was the draft, if you were the Giants, to get your Daniel Jones replacement if you truly don't believe in him. You were sitting at 6, right? You could have packaged enough to go up to 2 or 3 or 4, and you could have gotten, any of really the quarterbacks that you wanted. It seemed like they really liked Drake May from his little, snippet interview there on Hard Knocks. So Drake May looked really good in that little clip. Jaden Daniels did not, in my opinion. But either way, they're stuck with them, and I just think the problem is that if you don't have the GM thinking just, in terms of the overall team instead of how do I save Daniel Jones and make sure this idea of giving him money wasn't a total mistake, you're setting yourselves up for a disaster, and I think that's what the Giants are going to be. So what are you going to do?
Yep. And also, you talk about real quick the conversation being had about, the lie or I guess people are saying, the lying and the trust factor and everything else there. It's like, we've heard of the whole similar situation, and just about every GM or probably every GM does it. But we've heard the similar situation with Howie Roseman, right? What is his contract negotiations? Hey, test the market, let us know
Yeah.
what you have, come back to us. We would love to have the, last right of refusal, so to speak. So it's understandable, but you don't get a glimpse into what those conversations look like. So granted, it could be fairly similar, but I'm going to venture to guess it's a little bit different when Howie Roseman talks to players than what Joe Shane and how he's referring to Saquon Barkley. I could be wrong, but
Maybe.
that felt like a very that felt like a very strained relationship on the first place. But then for him to double down and come back and be like, "Hey, Saquon, can I have your word? Can I have your word on that? That you'll come back?" It's like, things aren't going well when you have to come back in and be like, he already agreed to it, basically.
Promise me.
Hey,
promise me.
Can you promise me? Can I have your word on that? Like, you will give us the last chance. Is like, okay, come on. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. It's a great TV show. I'm glad the Eagles never have to do it because it almost never makes teams look good, in my opinion. I think the Eagles would look good in it, but they're obviously never going to do it because they're a successful, good franchise that doesn't pick inside the top 10 of the draft very often, which is a good thing in the end. Okay, people just joining us, we gave away one of the signed Kelly Green, Brandon Graham jerseys. I don't think the winner is in the chat, so he's got to figure it out a little bit later on. Shasty was the winner of that first one. We're going to do another one here in just a couple of minutes, but do you want to do it now, or you want to talk about the baseball game? What do you want to do, Josh? Give us a little roadmap
let's see.
here.
We could do a little bit of the baseball game.
Okay,
yeah, we'll do that. We'll do it after.
Okay. We had a lot of people DMing us, asking us how we were able to go to Devontae Smith's celebrity softball game. And basically, I got a DM. I got reached out by the organization, fans of the show who work for the whole people putting on the entire event, and they basically said, we would love to get you and Josh to come out to the game. And it was like, okay, well, you got us a media pass. We're more than happy to go. The problem with events like that, Josh, and we've both been to stuff, at the collegiate level. I worked here. I live in Atlanta. I worked, in Atlanta. I went around the Atlanta Falcons and Hawks stuff a lot. A lot of times you go to those events and you're just in your own little corner. Not much is going on. And then you leave. Like, it's just like, okay, Saquon Barkley is 30 yards in front of me, but I'm not really interacting with anybody just because they're NFL players and I'm a media member or, content creator, whatever. And so it's not that big of a deal. So Josh and I think you agree with this, Josh, we didn't know what we were going to get. Like, we had no clue what was going to happen, spending the money, flying up to Philly. Josh is a 2.5-hour flight. I'm a 2-hour flight away. And then we get there and suddenly we're walking through the tunnel and we're walking right past Brandon Graham. I mean, Brandon Graham's just standing there, and we're just walking past Brandon Graham, who's massive in person, which I think is always fun when you're around NFL players to realize just how big they actually are. And, Brandon Graham was every bit as massive as you could ever expect. So that was our first little taste. It's like, okay, there's BG. We didn't say anything. He didn't recognize us, but that was our first little taste there.
Yes. Yeah. It was a whole lot of fun because I was surprised too whenever we got to go down into the tunnel and then, you see like the player locker room and it's right there with the media section. I was not expecting it, quite honestly. So, but I get the support, the amount of people there. Shout out to everybody else as well that, trying to get as many autographs. And I know we went back and forth trying to get memorabilia and help people out with autographs. You can only do so many of those. But it was just a blast to see everyone there, to take pictures. And then to your point, I was surprised because I was thinking similarly. It's like, oh, well, you'd be sectioned off in a certain area. And you basically had the same bench as the players. They were kind of sitting there conversing with you if they wanted to. Sometimes they kind of stand a little bit closer to the field. But overall, it was a phenomenal experience. And then getting to, pictures, autographs, everything else after the fact and talk with them. So, I know a lot of the players had mentioned this, but whenever AJ's right there and, you got it on a video, it's like, hey, big fan of the show. It's like,
that was
come
crazy.
On, let's go. That was pretty cool. It's like, then you realize that he's literally watching it, maybe not all of it, but he's literally watching it and fans of the show.
The craziest part of it all was as we're entering the field, there's a lady handing out wristbands to everyone who's going to be on the field. So you either have a pink wristband or a white wristband, and that'll decide if you're going to be on the third baseline or on the first baseline. And Josh and I randomly were given, white wristbands, and it turns out that was the side that had Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Isaiah Rodgers, who was super cool in person. I mean, Josh and Isaiah are like buddies at this point, but just to walk up and be like, what's up, Isaiah? He knows who you are. We're talking to Zach McPherson. He recognized me from our interview a couple of weeks ago. That was really cool. But then, going up to A.J. Brown, I had people ask me, like, did he actually say that? Which is why I got the video, because I was as stunned as everyone else was. But, we're watching the game. The players are around us. We haven't gone up to basically anybody yet. We're seeing kids who have VIP passes go up to players and ask to sign stuff. And so it's like, okay, if they're signing stuff, then I'm going to do it. But I didn't want to be the only person to be like, hey, A.J. Brown, it's me, Thomas, because it's just dumb, right? But enough people were signing helmets, and it's like, okay, I'll go say hi to A.J. And I had my wife's A.J. Brown jersey. She's like, get that signed if he's going to sign stuff. So, I had a little incentive. And I walk up to A.J. Brown. I go, hey, A.J., big fan. Do you mind if I get a picture? And he goes, I know who you are. And it was just like I got run over by a truck. Just like, it was shocking, which is why I flipped the camera around and was like, can you say that on video? He's like, yeah, I watch your show. And that's why my video is so short, because I was just in total shock. And so for people wondering, that's how it went down. I was completely caught off guard. I was like, did you hear that, Josh? And he's like, yeah, I think I heard that right. I was
running over to help take the picture too, because I looked over to the side. I was having a different conversation. I think I was over there with Zay, but I looked over and I was like, oh shoot, he's getting he needs someone to take a picture or video or something. And so I ran over there and I was like, oh my gosh, I definitely heard what he just said. So yeah, that was unbelievable. Then he came back over and more pictures and having conversations. So we'll see. One of these days, maybe get an interview.
We asked him. Because I went back over and I chatted with him for a little bit, and I was like, because I was still stunned. I was like, you really watch the show? He's like, no, I really do. I mean, Josh just had Isaiah Rodgers on. You had Zach McPherson on. He made points that was clear that he actually knows who we were and we're watching the shows. And then I said, okay, well, when are we going to get you on? And I think Josh asked the same thing, and he was like, guys, yeah, I try to stay away from the media because what they do to me here. That's basically what he told us. And then we were like, hey, we're a little different.
Totally fair, though.
And he said, how about maybe after the season? And we were like, okay. So it's going to happen. It's not going to happen next week, but hopefully it'll happen pretty soon. It was very fun. It was very, very fun.
There you go.
They're all super nice in person, too, which is crazy. We talked to Saquon for a couple of minutes. Josh was comparing his golf game, and if you watch Josh's Instagram, he has a longer drive than Saquon. We found out Saquon about 260, Josh 320 carries, so that was fun.
I appreciate the plug there, yes. Yeah. And I'm seeing lots of comments now. This was going to be just inevitable, I suppose. But you started this by saying wide receiver 3, and people, I think we know by now, it doesn't matter how tall someone is, just to be actually good. No one wants me as wide receiver 3, but as soon as you tweeted that out and shared it, then people are like, oh my gosh. So,
well, if you're 6'3", yeah.
6'3", so there you go.
And all the pictures, it's like, me and Jalen Hurts, and, I'm way down here. And then me and A.J. Brown, I'm way down here. And then it's you and A.J. Brown, neck and neck. And you're like, okay, well, yes. Josh is much taller than me. If you saw us in person, you would understand that. I'm 5'9.25". Josh is much taller than that. So, is what it is. I'm built for YouTube. Josh is built to be on the field, if you, But Josh is on YouTube, so it is what it is.
Even if I am, let's just I don't have the ability to be on the field. So playing sports in high school is one thing. Playing that I'll just say this. There's another thing related to the players themselves and being up close in person. I've seen athletes before, but you don't know necessarily translating to different plays or different different sports, but just seeing the ability that they have, and again, they're not even playing football, but being up close there, it's like you already knew it, but it's just it's a different level of athleticism. I mean, I'm sorry, but and I'm curious because there was one play in particular where Zay had to go track a ball, and he said he's faster than 4.28. And I'm like, man, I know he's never going to actually test it, but he looks every bit as quick and fast, as he's ever looked in his career. So I'm just saying, for what that's worth as well, it's everyone's shocked and surprised by how he's playing. Keely Ringo, whatever he did working out wise and getting into shape or staying where there's no rust. I mean, kudos to him because it's been phenomenal.
Couple of comments here. Where was it? Shaq Strauss said the way you gave yourself that extra quarter, Thomas. Hey, listen, when you're 5'9", you got to give every extra quarter you got. Every single extra quarter you got. John Shea Elliott, how many yards do you think Saquon Barkley's going to have? I asked that question on my show the other day. I had a lot of people saying between 13 and 1,600 yards. That's kind of, I think rushing wise, that's where I'm at too. I think it's 1,000 for sure. And I went back and looked on my show, 2 days ago, or maybe yesterday, the Saquon show I did. The Eagles had 12 games where running backs got less than, I think it was 27 carries last year, which is crazy. All running backs combined. They had so many games, especially early on, where they just did not run the football. The Viking game had 9 rushes by running backs, which is crazy.
I was going to say, we were screaming and yelling at them, though, because we're what are you doing? It's working. You're not running the football, but yeah, that is still surprising with that number of even being there in the season and watching it. It's that's a surprising number.
So if they, of course, add him more carries, and DeAndre Swift almost had 1,000 yards rushing, then it seems like a guarantee it's going to be 1,000. But if he gets to 13, 1,500, 1,600, then you're really starting to cook. So David says 1,763. That would be quite the season.
I love the precise take too. We got some of these like rounded off 1,600, 16,000 for B Costello is the slip there. Dennis Designs 1,200. I'll say too. The fact that because there's not a whole lot. There are some of like the critics of Saquon Barkley, say, oh hey, the injury is understandable. Like, hey, look, that happens to all sorts of players. Hopefully he's healthy, but everyone said that about DeAndre Swift as well, and he just played a full season or could have. They set him out.
True, that's a good point.
Prohibitively on the last game, but he could have played if you really wanted him to. So it's like he's got a better line. And I talked about this on the last show that I was doing because people will start going. They're like, oh, well, he's 27. He's kind of over the hill, the second contract. Totally get all that. But there are outliers. There are players that have shown that they can actually increase or elevate their level of play. And the first several guys that came to mind were Adrian Peterson, LaShawn McCoy, Marshawn Lynch. But the argument that I was making is like, Saquon Barkley has not had a line, has not had an offense around him to where he can actually have a little bit of a breather. It's like defense is keyed off of Saquon Barkley because if you shut down Saquon Barkley, the Giants aren't doing anything. And that's been just about his entire career. Yeah. So you put him on this Eagles offense, no offense to DeAndre Swift, but I'm sorry. Like if Saquon wants to, and I know he does, he wants to prove the point, he can very easily put up the numbers that DeAndre Swift. There's no doubt in my mind. Yeah. So, I think it comes down to health always, but I think that as long as he stays healthy, there's no doubt he should be able to have, you don't want to overuse him too. You save him healthy for the playoffs, but he's that game changer, that difference maker. So I'd probably be about in the same boat. If I was going to guess it, I'd pick 1,300 yards rushing, 30, 35, 40 catches. I hope he's more involved, but I don't know. I kind of go back and forth. He's like, how many guys can you spread the ball around? I'm expecting big numbers from AJ and from Smitty and Goddard. So, but yeah, I say 1,300 and I like 12 touchdowns. That's good. Dennis Designs 12 touchdowns. I go with that.
Depends on how many times they're stopped at the 1 yard line because, those are basically guarantees. I think I saw Jalen Hurts has 23 today. It was on Twitter, 23 1 yard rushing touchdowns in his career, which is crazy. So hopefully Saquon gets a lot of, big burst touchdowns from 15 yards out or 8 yards out or 30 yards out, right? That's going to be the real kicker there. How many touches will he average a game? It's got to be over 15, right? I mean, total touches needs to be 20, right, in terms of catches as well, but at least 15, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because you think about if he's going to have, I don't know, if you say figure three-ish catches a game, and then you have maybe you're going to have some, I would bet, where he's got 20 to 25 carries. But I would still feel like the Eagles are probably going to be somewhat conservative if they can, especially like, let's say the game's out of reach, then obviously like, all right, get Saquon off the field, run Will Shipley or Kenny G if you want RB2, whoever that is, but run someone and to get him out. But I would say, average-wise, 18 to 20 touches probably per game. That's where I feel like anyway.
Sounds about right. No, I think it definitely makes sense. We are just approaching the top of the hour. We're already 45 minutes in. Let's just go ahead and do the next, and I guess last, Kelly Green BG jerseys. So if you were just joining us, we gave away the first one. Each of our channels has a Brandon Grimm interview. If you're subscribed and commented BG on either one or both, then you're getting entries. So Josh gave away, or I guess spun the wheel for my channel's comment section. So Shasty won that one. He has a week to respond and let us know that he saw it, and then of course we'll go ahead and give it to him. If not, we'll respin next Wednesday. And now this is Josh's comment section, so let's go ahead and get that up there. And again, quickly, I saw people saying that it only flashes like 20 names and there's like 1,000+ comments.
Yes. Yeah.
It's how it works though. Like it's just showing you a couple of names, but it is fully randomizing every comment that has the words BG in it. Yeah.
There's no, because otherwise, I mean, what, you want us to sit here for 30 minutes, an hour to let every name just kind of flip through on that side? So yeah, it is totally random, but you're not going to see every single name, even though it is added in here, all 2,700 entries between both of them.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
All right, Josh's comment section. Let's see if someone is watching who's going to win, or if it's going to be someone else to watch at a later time. Here we go.
That would be fantastic.
It'd be fun.
So
it'd be very
good
fun.
luck to everybody though. So no
Final
preference.
one.
Here you go. Who's it going to be? It is Luffy Uchiha, I believe. Luffy Uchiha 4207.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
Congrats.
I have not seen a Luffy in the comment section, sadly, but that is who has won so far. We'll see if he responds, which hopefully he does. Congratulations.
Absolutely.
You're the other winner. Luffy,
Yeah, 2 for 2.
Uchiha. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think we got it.
I've seen other comments before, but just not on the live stream. So I don't know. Hopefully we'll get a quick response. But
there you go. Hey, plenty of other giveaways are going to be happening throughout the season. I got one going on right now on my, I think it was my Monday video, if I remember it correctly. So Josh has plenty of giveaways going away as well. So, you know, if you don't win this one, we try, but a lot of times there's thousands of comments, and so it's hard to go ahead and, you know, get everybody a win. But we're trying to, and so hopefully both of these people will respond, Shasti and Luffy, and they'll get their jerseys. So we appreciate you guys. We'll get those to you as soon as we get them back from BG, because they are waiting for him after he's back from his vacation right now. Okay, couple more comments here, and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap up because we're getting close to the top of the hour. We got plenty of time though here. I saw one a little bit earlier about, who was it? I thought I saw one about Reed Blankenship asking if he's going to be the answer there at safety. I think for one, in terms of the safety spot, just having CJ Gardner-Johnson back is just, it completely changes everything, right? The safety position last year, it wasn't bad. It just was very man. I feel like besides Brian Dawkins and Malcolm Jenkins, the Eagles have kind of had pretty average safety groups throughout their entire history. And we as Eagle fans have, you know, a love for safeties. We just don't have a lot of really good ones besides the two that I just mentioned. Gardner-Johnson changes those things. And so while Reed doesn't have to be a superstar, if he's serviceable, top 20 safety in the league, the Eagles secondary could potentially be the best in the National Football League. And again, tomorrow, dropping another interview with another Eagle DB, I asked about Reed Blankenship, and out of everybody he talked the most about how Reed is like way, way, way nicer of a guy, way more impressive in person, the smartest player he's ever been around. I mean, he raved about Reed Blankenship as a mentor, everything. And so he got me fired up about Reed Blankenship, and it feels like they're pretty locked into both Reed and CJ, and I think their secondary and safety spot is going to be pretty darn good with those two back there.
Okay, so we can deductive reasoning understand that it was not Reed Blankenship that you had the interview.
No,
with.
I don't know.
So
it would no.
People that were guessing, it is official. It was not Reed Blankenship.
We're trying though. We're trying.
Yes,
we've had some conversations with people in the Reed Blankenship world. We're working on that one.
Yes. Yeah. Also working on some offensive players. I saw a question much earlier about why we get so many defense, but the defense we got responses, and we're not going to be picky. So it's like, all right, hey, you want to come on the show? Sure, we'll talk defense. We talked a lot about Fangio, but.
Who will be our first offensive player interview? Sorry to cut you off.
You said who would be the first?
Yeah, I mean, we have not had. We've had Isaiah Rodgers, Moro Jomo, Brandon Graham, Zach McPherson, and an Eagle DB to be named tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Are we ever going to have an offensive player? And I wonder who's going to be the first. We're trying.
We are trying. I don't know if it would be good to say this and put this out there, or maybe not. So I'm just going to say it. And then it may not happen, so people don't hate on us because we're trying our best here. But there might be a chance that we have Lane Johnson on. So we'll just say that. We'll leave it at that.
He was on Cowherd today. I saw that. I was like, Lane, why don't you just
positive traction, which we can discuss as well. But we'll just leave it at that. So maybe so, which would be nice to get some like offensive line talk as well, because we've seen some of the other players. But no. But going back to Reed though, I think that's fascinating. Again, it means more coming from the players than. Love all the different media, the beat writers, the extra insights, interviews, and all that. But when it comes specifically from a player who's been around in the locker room talking the X's and O's, you just get more of that insight. And we've said a number of times, like, okay, hey, Reed had a little bit of just an odd year, but so did everyone. You look at the whole Desai and Patricia, and no one had a consistent effort there. And then plus the groin injury and all that with Reed. So he's usually. I mean, if there's a turnover, a lot of times it's felt like, oh, Reed Blankenship is either there making the turnover or he tipped a ball or he's very close in proximity, seems to have a good nose for the football. So, I mean, to hear that from another individual on the team is very exciting. But yeah, I'm interested to see the difference that it makes, certainly having a guy like CJ Gardner-Johnson in the corners, because, I mean, even Slay said in a recent interview, I think it was on the Greenlights podcast, talking about like, hey, as a corner, sometimes you're only as good as your safety is. And so, it's reciprocal though, because at the same time, if you have a terrible corner that can't listen or can't go based off of any reads or checks or things like that, then, as a safety, your job just is that much harder. And so I think having these new guys, these new faces, guys that can make plays on the same page. And honestly too, I mean, the thing that I try not to forget most of the time, but to me, he's a huge difference maker is Christian Parker because, players make plays, and that's where it starts. It starts for sure, no doubt with the players. But man, I mean, everyone has said so many positive things about Christian Parker and how he's changed the dynamic and the communication, everything there. So I don't know. I'm interested to see that dynamic. Not to share, but I am just curious. Did the individual you spoke with, did he share anything about Christian Parker? You don't have to share it. We'll hear it.
He
but
did
okay,
not. No, we talked a lot about Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
A lot about Vic Fangio. Yeah.
Still, new defense and all that. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Everyone's pumped up about you hinting at Lane Johnson. It's not confirmed yet. It's not confirmed yet.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Getting some traction.
It's been very interesting getting actual players on the show because it's, I've been doing my show for almost 2 years. Josh is, a little over a year. It's very difficult to do. It's why most other channels don't. I mean, like no other channels do because it's so hard to get these people to go ahead and come on. But a lot of it is conversation. Conversation comes back and forth. You don't hear back. You check back in. It's like, there's a lot of give and take in terms of how it works. And so we are working on multiple Eagle players right now and multiple big-time interviews. Will they happen next week? Will they happen next month? We just don't know. So there's only so much teasing that we can do, but know that the ball is really starting to roll right now for Eagle player interviews, and it's only going to keep on kicking up here. So, and let's just say this. We were sitting there on the sideline talking to Isaiah Rodgers at the celebrity softball game, and he mentioned that Josh's interview with Isaiah Rodgers, which has 54,000 views right now, put him on the map, basically. I mean, a lot of people knew who Isaiah Rodgers was, but if you're a casual Eagle fan, you probably don't have an idea, right? You know who Slay is, because he's been suspended, he's just starting it out. You don't really cover or follow OTAs if you're a casual Eagle fan. And Zay said after his interview with Josh, his agent has had nonstop requests to go on all sorts of different shows, and he said, no, going on Josh's was the one I wanted to go on. So people are starting to realize that this is the good place to come on. You're going to get a fair, fun interview. There'll be no gotcha questions. It's like it's starting to kind of roll a little bit here, and the Eagle players themselves are kind of taking notice. And the person I interviewed today said he, found out because some other Eagle players have been coming on our show. So it's starting to roll here. My question will we get them on during the season? That's a whole different ball game because they're all just chilling right now. Yep. But we're trying. We're working very hard. Let's just say that. Working very hard.
Yes. That would be the goal, though. I'm excited about the potential, so we'll see how that turns out. But no, it was honestly humbling and unbelievable, and still, I don't know. It's awesome to be at this point. It does not go unnoticed or unbeknownst to me. It's just one of those like, you know what? Hey, this is unbelievable blessing that it's like, hey, people are checking it out. Yeah. Got some interest. Hearing Zay say that was like, what? You gotta be kidding me.
That was big.
Like, the fact that case. But then again, it's trickled down to other players and people coming on. So it is very exciting. I'm totally right there with you. We got awesome things planned too for the channel as well. You mentioned the live streams. We were working on more excitement there. I don't necessarily want to give everything away, but just some maybe visuals or just other stuff that we can have there for the game. So it should be a whole lot of fun. And we're only a couple weeks away from training camp, then it'll speed into the regular or preseason, regular season. So yeah, I'm getting ready to have like actual meaningful content and everything else to talk about because there's only so much that we could do.
There you go. Donnie Four says Barkley would be an interesting interview. Yes. Yeah, I'll just agree to that. I can't say much there because that's also something that we're working on. But yes, Barkley would be a really, really good one. And then Jericho saying, imagine you guys getting Kelsey on. We've had conversations with people in the circle, and it's difficult. Let's just say that. It's
understandably, yes.
Very hard. I think besides Jalen Hurts, the hardest Eagle to get on our show will be Jason Kelsey. If we ever get Jason Kelsey on an interview on these shows, you'll know that we've officially made it because he's on a different level right now in terms of fame. And I think he's taken a big step back in terms of like trying to just relax and enjoy being retired. So
he's working on the golf game.
Yeah, I saw that video. He is working on the golf game. What else do you do after you retire? You got to do it. So we're working on it. We're working on it. Hey, I mean, there's no stop point in YouTube. 5 years from now, maybe we get our Jason Kelsey interview, but it'll happen. It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
Can't wait.
All right, let's do one or two more questions here that aren't related to people we're going to interview or hopefully interview and get back a little bit more time before we wrap things up here. Michael Thompson says, hey, Thomas, who is the starting corners this year? My best guess is Slay. I think it will be Rodgers based on experience. I think he beats out Ringo. I think Ringo long term. I think Ringo and Rodgers are really the future, but Ringo long term is going to be an option there. Excuse me, I'm coughing the entire show. So those two. I think the slot is going to be where the real battle starts because it should be Maddox. But I have a really strong feeling, Josh, you're going to get to training camp, and if you're not playing Ringo, you're not playing Mitchell, you're not playing Cooper DeJean in a starting role, you're going to try to find ways to get those players on the football field. And talent-wise, they are better than Avonte Maddox. At least they should be. So while it will be Maddox to start, I can see things kind of moving around there a little bit. But they're going to be in a lot of nickel. They're going to be in a lot of dime. You're going to see Quinton Mitchell on the football field. You're going to see DeJean at safety, in the slot, on the outside. They're going to have all these guys running. But your base defense will be Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, and Avonte Maddox. That would be my guess.
Yeah, no disagreements for me. It makes perfect sense. Again, you talk about the experience, where they're playing. I could see the competition like you alluded to as well, but it just seems like I'm not going to say a foregone conclusion because, yes, they need to earn those roles and everything else. But as long as everyone's healthy, you go into the year with the guys that have the experience and then you slowly rotate. Now, is that the way that it ends towards the end of the season? Who knows? But I think that, with you, the guys who are more prepared and ready to go from day one, it feels like it'd be those guys. And then, as far as the safeties, you'd have CJ Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship. Who knows if you have a fourth safety and if and who that might be? That's a question. Sidney Brown maybe is available depending on if he gets cleared. If it's up to him, he said he would be out there. But again, it comes down to the training staff. So he would be your third. But then again, we keep talking about who's your fourth option? Who do you feel comfortable with? All the things like that. So not really sure, but I am in agreement. Yes, with Slay, feels like for sure Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, and then Avonte Maddox.
There you go. Yep, I would definitely agree with that 100%. Liz says, I'd love to see an interview with Lane Johnson, get his opinions on the Super Bowl till now. I would love to do Lane Johnson, and that maybe he'll be our first offensive player. We talked about that. There's a chance.
There you go.
Maybe y'all can be on New Heights with the brothers. That would be the...
Could you imagine?
Yeah, that would be something else. I don't even want to think about that because that would be crazy. But yes, we'd be very open to doing that. It'd be
wouldn't pass it up, but
if we did get to go on New Heights, we would have to ask because here's the whole thing about going on New Heights. There's always a viral moment from being on New Heights that goes crazy on Twitter, and it's normally with Travis Kelce. If we got to go on New Heights, I would spend most of my waking moments before that interview, whatever, thinking about the right Taylor Swift question to ask Travis Kelce. That way it would go viral. I think that's how I would do it. Because you gotta ask something, but if you ask the right question on New Heights, it's going mega viral. It'd be fun to try to figure out what that question would need to be in order for it to go ahead and go viral. It'd be very fun.
It would be. The fact that it has to be a Taylor Swift question is,
that's
like...
I mean, you want to go viral? I understand that mega viral?
It's true. Yeah, it's probably true. So
there you go.
Long way to go from that. And
long
James,
way to go.
No, I've not been taught the gritty. I think we went over this several different times.
I saw that.
No, I'm not doing it. No. Sorry.
Jason might hit 600 yards with a club in terms of golf. Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's having a lot of fun. In my opinion, Nolan Smith, AJ Brown would be the best interviews. We're working on Nolan. We have people close. Let's say that. Nolan, he's very outgoing, but I've heard he's not a big interview person. Most of them don't like doing interviews, by the way, and it's not just Nolan. But we're working on Nolan. We're working on Nolan. Nolan would be very fun. And maybe I have to contain Josh a little bit, to get fangirl out too much. But
there's only so much, so we'll see. I'm questioning. It'll be a struggle just to contain and keep everything under wraps as well. But if that happens, everyone will for sure hear about it. It might be overboard. I apologize in advance, but we're working towards that route.
Ernest says, Thomas, you've been invited back on Jacob Network yet? I've not gotten an invite back. I thought it was a good interview. I thought it went well. I thought it did well on their channel too, views-wise. I'm shocked Josh has not been invited on yet. Josh was on Shane Half. Is it Huff or Half?
Yeah, Half. Yes.
You're on Half's podcast. Yes. I did not get to listen to it. I watched a clip of that. How was that? That looked pretty fun.
Yeah, it was great. There was actually, I think, 1,000 concurrent viewers for an hour. So people were actually, hanging out, just talking Kellen Moore's offense and everything. So got another shout out on the video I'm going to drop here in a little bit. But yeah, that was fun. I admitted it in the forefront. This. Lots of people that watch the show know this. I was like, I'm not a film guru, so if you want me to hop on, sure, I'm welcome. But I'm willing to. But I'm not going to be at the level that they break it down. But it was fun because it was a back and forth, hey, what did it remind you of as far as what the the what Jalen does, what our offense did last year versus Kellen Moore and what he
Sure.
can bring. So no, we had a great time. Very good.
There you go. There you go. All right, we're going to go and wrap things up right at an hour right here. To be completely candid, my wife wants to take the dogs on a walk, and she will not go without me. So we are going to walk the dogs after we hop off here. So we're at an hour, and it's time to go.
Yes, don't make her wait. Absolutely. Happy wife, happy life. Everyone can understand that. In Texan Eagle, yes, I would learn to gritty if it guaranteed a Super Bowl win, but you can't prove that. So I will not be learning to gritty. So I appreciate it.
There you go. And yes, Dakota, we did give away the 2 jerseys. It was Shasty 1-1, and who was the other person?
Luffy Uchia.
Okay, there you go. Both of those. Yes. Just rewind the show and then find that you won it. Send us a screenshot of you logged into your YouTube account, and we will get those whenever BG gives them to us because he has them right now, but he's on vacation, so he has them, but he's not actually with them. So they are coming and they will happen. We appreciate you guys. We will be back next Wednesday for the final live show before training camp, which is very exciting because it feels like it's been a pretty fast overall off season. If we, at least in terms of July, but. Yes, we will definitely be doing that. So, all right, I'm going to go walk dogs. Josh is going to go be a father of 2, and we hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. So, see you guys.
Go Birds.